Alex Rivera adjusted his pillow for the third time and glanced at the clock on his desk. It was almost midnight, but sleep would not come easily tonight. Tomorrow marked the beginning of his second year at New Terra University, the most prestigious interspecies educational institution in the galaxy. Students from dozens of different alien civilizations came here to study alongside humans, creating a unique environment for learning and cultural exchange. Alex was majoring in psychology with a focus on interspecies relations. He found it fascinating to learn how different alien minds worked and how various species approached problems like emotion, memory, and social interaction. His grades were good and he enjoyed most of his classes, but there was one aspect of university life that made him nervous: his roommate. Alex shared a 2-bedroom suite with Kira, a Zilani exchange student who was studying human psychology. The Zilani were one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, with technology that seemed almost magical to humans. They were tall, graceful beings with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the light and large violet eyes that appeared to see everything. Kira was brilliant. There was no doubt about that. She could solve complex mathematical problems in her head, spoke 7 different languages fluently, and had a memory that seemed perfect. But she also treated Alex and other humans with a kind of polite condescension that made him uncomfortable. To Kira, humans were interesting specimens to be studied, not equals to be respected. She had chosen to focus her research on human psychology because she wanted to understand what she called inferior species for her graduate thesis. She often made comments about human limitations and primitive emotional responses that she clearly considered scientific observations rather than insults. Alex tried to be patient with her. He understood that different species had different ways of thinking and communicating, but sometimes Kira's attitude made him feel like a laboratory animal being observed by a scientist. The next morning, Alex woke up to find Kira already dressed and sitting at her desk, reviewing notes on her tablet. She wore the simple gray clothing favored by Zilani students and had her long silver hair pulled back in a practical style. "Good morning, Alex," Kira said without looking up from her tablet. "I have prepared a schedule for optimal efficiency today. Your first class begins in 47 minutes, which allows sufficient time for basic hygiene and nutrition intake." Alex rubbed his eyes and stumbled toward the bathroom. "Thanks, Kira, but I can manage my own schedule." "Your previous scheduling methods resulted in being late to 3 classes last semester," Kira replied matter-of-factly. "My calculations show a 17% improvement in punctuality with proper time management." Alex sighed as he brushed his teeth. This was typical Kira behavior. She analyzed everything in terms of efficiency and optimization, as if life was a complex equation to be solved rather than an experience to be enjoyed. After getting dressed and grabbing a quick breakfast, Alex headed to his first class of the day, Advanced Xenopsychology with Professor Davis. The classroom was filled with students from various species, creating a colorful mix of different body types, skin colors, and clothing styles. Professor Davis was a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and a warm smile. She had spent decades studying alien psychology and was one of the leading experts in the field. Alex respected her knowledge and enjoyed her teaching style. "Welcome back, everyone," Professor Davis said as the class settled down. "This semester we will be exploring the concept of emotional bonding across different species. Some civilizations, like humans, form strong emotional attachments to family members, friends, and romantic partners. Other species approach relationships in very different ways." Alex noticed Kira taking detailed notes, her violet eyes focused intently on the professor. He wondered what she thought about the topic of emotional bonding, since Zilani society seemed to have very little of it. "Can anyone give me an example of how their species approaches family relationships?" Professor Davis asked. A student from the aquatic collective raised a webbed hand. "My people form breeding pods of 12 to 15 individuals. Offspring are raised collectively by the entire pod, with no special attachment to biological parents." "Excellent example," Professor Davis said. "And how does this differ from human family structures?" Alex raised his hand. "Humans typically form smaller family units with strong emotional bonds between parents and children. These bonds often last throughout their entire lives, even when family members live far apart." Kira's head turned toward Alex, and he could see her making additional notes. He had the uncomfortable feeling that she was analyzing his response as data for her research. After class, Alex walked back to his dormitory with his friend Tam, a cheerful human student who was studying interspecies relations. Tam had curly red hair and an infectious laugh that made him popular with students from many different species. "How are things going with your Zilani roommate?" Tam asked as they crossed the campus quad. "It is complicated," Alex replied. "Kira's incredibly smart, but she treats me like a research subject rather than a person. Sometimes I feel like she is taking notes on everything I do." "That is probably because she is," Tam said with a grin. "I heard that Zilani students are required to submit detailed reports on their observations of other species." "You are probably going to end up in her thesis," Alex groaned. "Great. I always wanted to be famous as a case study in primitive human behavior." When Alex returned to his room, he found Kira at her desk as usual, but this time she looked up when he entered. "Alex, I have a question about human behavior," Kira said. "I observed you in class today discussing family relationships. You mentioned emotional bonds that persist across distance and time. Can you explain the practical purpose of these bonds?" Alex sat down on his bed and thought about how to answer. "Well, family bonds provide emotional support and help. When humans face difficulties, their families often help them through tough times. But this help is not guaranteed," Kira pointed out. "Family members may be unable or unwilling to provide assistance. Would it not be more efficient to form alliances based on mutual benefit rather than biological connection?" "It is not just about efficiency," Alex said. "Humans love their families. We care about them and want them to be happy, even when there is no direct benefit to ourselves." Kira's violet eyes seemed to study Alex's face as if she was trying to decode a complex puzzle. "Love," she repeated. "This is the emotional attachment that humans claim to experience. My research indicates that it causes significant inefficiency in decision-making and resource allocation." Alex felt a flash of irritation. "Love is not about efficiency. It is about caring for someone and wanting the best for them. But why would evolution develop such an inefficient system?" Kira asked. "The Zilani approach is much more logical. We form partnerships based on genetic compatibility and intellectual merit. Reproduction is managed by selection committees to ensure optimal offspring. There is no waste of resources on emotional attachments." "That sounds pretty cold to me," Alex said. "Do not Zilani ever form friendships or fall in love?" "We form work units for specific tasks and social hierarchies based on ability," Kira replied. "But we do not experience the irrational emotional states that humans call friendship or love. These appear to be primitive biological responses that interfere with logical thinking." Alex shook his head. "I think you are missing something important about what makes life meaningful." Before Kira could respond, Alex's communication device chimed with an incoming call. He looked at the screen and smiled when he saw it was a video call from his family back on Earth. "Excuse me," Alex said to Kira. "I need to take this call." Alex activated the video connection, and his family's faces appeared on the screen. His mother Maria looked tired but happy. His father Carlos was grinning broadly, and his younger sister Sophia was bouncing excitedly in the background. "Alex," Sophia shouted. "How is university? Are you eating enough? Have you made any alien friends?" Alex laughed. "Hi, Sophia. Yes, I am eating enough, and yes, I have made some alien friends. How is school going for you?" "It is okay," Sophia said. "But I miss having you around to help with my math homework." "I miss you too," Alex said. "But you are smart enough to figure out the math on your own." His mother leaned closer to the camera. "Are you sure you are eating properly? You look a little thin." "I'm fine, Mom," Alex said with affection. "The food here is actually pretty good, and they have options for human dietary needs." His father joined the conversation. "How about that local sports team you were following? Did they make it to the playoffs?" Alex and his father spent several minutes discussing sports, with both of them getting animated about recent games and player trades. Sophia chimed in occasionally with questions, and his mother shared news about neighbors and family friends. The conversation lasted about 30 minutes, covering everything from Alex's classes to family gossip to plans for his next visit home. Throughout the call, Alex felt his mood improving as he connected with the people he loved most. After ending the call, Alex turned around to find Kira staring at him with an expression of complete bewilderment. "What was the purpose of that communication?" Kira asked. "I was talking to my family," Alex said. "I call them every week to stay in touch. But they provided no useful information, Kira said. There was no exchange of resources or strategic planning. You spent 32 minutes discussing trivial matters that have no impact on your current situation. Alex felt his earlier irritation returning. It was not about getting useful information. I called because I love them and I miss them. Talking to them makes me feel better. But they are located on Earth, which is several light years away, Kira pointed out. They cannot provide you with any practical assistance. Why do you waste time on these inefficient social rituals? They are not inefficient, Alex said, his voice rising slightly. My family loves me and supports me. Knowing that they care about me gives me strength and motivation. That is not a waste of time. Kira made notes on her tablet. Interesting. You claim that these emotional connections provide psychological benefits despite their lack of practical value. This supports my hypothesis about human emotional dependency. Alex stared at her. Emotional dependency? Is that what you think this is? Human behavior patterns suggest that your species requires regular emotional validation from other humans to maintain psychological stability, Kira said. This creates a dependency that limits individual autonomy and efficiency. That is not how it works, Alex protested. Humans are social creatures. We are stronger when we work together and support each other. Love and friendship are not weaknesses, they are strengths. Kira tilted her head, studying Alex like he was a particularly interesting laboratory specimen. Your emotional response to my analysis suggests that this topic causes you distress. This further supports the hypothesis that humans are psychologically fragile due to their emotional dependencies. Alex took a deep breath, trying to calm down. Getting angry would only reinforce Kira's beliefs about human emotional instability. Kira, Alex said carefully, I think you are misunderstanding something fundamental about human relationships. We do not form emotional bonds because we are weak or dependent. We form them because they make our lives richer and more meaningful. Meaning is a subjective concept with no measurable value, Kira replied. Efficiency and optimization are objective measures of success. Alex realized that he was not going to change Kira's mind with a single conversation. Her entire worldview was based on logic and efficiency, with no room for concepts like love or friendship. Over the next few days, Alex noticed that Kira was observing his behavior more closely than usual. She seemed particularly interested in his social interactions with other students. When Alex met friends for meals or study sessions, Kira would ask detailed questions about the purpose and benefits of these activities. Why do you eat meals with other students when you could consume nutrition more efficiently alone? Kira asked after Alex returned from lunch with Tam and several other friends. Because eating with friends is enjoyable, Alex explained. We talk and laugh and share stories. It makes the meal more pleasant. But the food provides the same nutritional value regardless of social context, Kira pointed out. The additional time spent on conversation reduces the efficiency of the meal, Alex sighed. Not everything is about efficiency, Kira. Sometimes humans do things because they are fun or because they make us happy. Happiness is another subjective emotional state, Kira said. How do you measure its value compared to objective achievements? You do not measure it, Alex said. You experience it. Kira made more notes on her tablet. Alex was beginning to feel like every conversation with his roommate was being recorded for scientific analysis. The situation became more complicated when Alex received a message from his girlfriend, Sarah, who was studying at a university on another planet. Sarah was also human, and they had been dating for 2 years before deciding to attend different schools to pursue their individual academic goals. Alex was excited to hear from Sarah, but her message contained some difficult news. She was struggling with her classes and feeling homesick. She missed Alex and was considering transferring to a school closer to Earth, even though it would mean giving up her current program. Alex spent over an hour composing a response, trying to be supportive while also encouraging Sarah to stick with her studies. He reminded her of how hard she had worked to get into her current program and how much she had wanted to study xenobiology. He offered to visit her during the next break and suggested ways she could connect with other students to feel less isolated. After sending his message, Alex felt emotionally drained. Long-distance relationships were difficult, and he worried about Sarah's happiness and their future together. Kira had observed the entire process, and she approached Alex with her usual scientific curiosity. You appear distressed after communicating with your romantic partner, Kira observed. This suggests that the relationship is causing you psychological harm. Why do you maintain this connection? I am not distressed because of the relationship, Alex explained. I am worried about Sarah because I care about her. She is going through a difficult time and I want to help her. But she is located on a different planet, Kira said. You cannot provide practical assistance. Your emotional investment in her problems only creates stress for yourself without solving her difficulties. Alex looked at Kira with frustration. That is not the point. Sarah knows that I care about her and support her. That emotional support helps her feel less alone and gives her strength to face her challenges. This is another example of human emotional dependency, Kira said, making notes. Both you and your partner require regular emotional validation to maintain psychological stability. This creates a system of mutual dependency that limits individual growth and efficiency. It is not dependency, Alex said firmly. It is love. Sarah and I choose to be together because we make each other happy and we want to share our lives. We support each other through difficult times and celebrate together during good times. But this emotional attachment influences your decision-making, Kira pointed out. You spent significant time crafting your response to her message instead of focusing on your own studies. You are considering visiting her during break time that could be used for academic advancement. Your choices are being determined by emotional factors rather than logical analysis. Alex felt his patience wearing thin. Yes, my relationship with Sarah influences my decisions. That is because she is important to me. I want her to be happy, and I want us to have a future together. Those are not logical calculations, they are emotional choices, and I am glad I can make them. Kira studied Alex's face with her large violet eyes. Your emotional response to this discussion is quite strong. You appear to be experiencing what humans call anger. I am frustrated, Alex admitted. You keep analyzing my relationships like they are problems to be solved instead of recognizing that they are valuable parts of my life. But from an objective standpoint, these relationships do create problems, Kira said. They cause you stress, influence your decisions in potentially suboptimal ways, and require significant time and energy to maintain. A more logical approach would be to form alliances based on mutual benefit, rather than emotional attachment. Alex stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the campus where students from dozens of species were going about their daily activities. He could see humans walking together in small groups, talking and laughing. He could see other species moving in their own patterns, some solitary and others in organized formations. Kira, Alex said without turning around, can I ask you something about Zelani relationships? Certainly, Kira replied. Do you have anyone in your life that you care about? Anyone whose happiness matters to you? There was a long pause before Kira answered. I have work associates who are efficient collaborators. I have genetic matches who would be suitable for reproduction if selected by the committee. I have social superiors whose approval affects my status. But do you have anyone you would miss if they were gone? Alex asked. Anyone you think about when you are alone? Anyone whose problems would keep you awake at night? Another pause. No, Kira said quietly. Such attachments would be considered inefficient and potentially harmful to optimal functioning. Alex turned back to face his roommate. For the first time since he had known her, Kira looked uncertain rather than confident. Do not you ever feel lonely? Alex asked gently. Loneliness is an emotional state that indicates dependency on others, Kira said, but her voice lacked its usual certainty. Zelani are trained to be self-sufficient and independent. Alex sat back down on his bed looking at Kira with new understanding. That sounds like a very isolated way to live. It is efficient, Kira said, but she did not sound convinced. Before Alex could respond, there was a knock at their door. Alex opened it to find Tam standing in the hallway. Looking before Alex could respond, there was a knock at their door. Alex opened it to find Tam standing in the hallway looking upset and disheveled. His usually cheerful face was red and blotchy and his eyes were watery. Alex, can I come in? Tam asked, his voice shaky. I really need to talk to someone. Of course, Alex said, stepping aside to let his friend enter. What happened? Tam collapsed into the chair at Alex's desk and put his head in his hands. Emma broke up with me, he said, his voice muffled. She sent me a text message. A text message, Alex. After 8 months together, she could not even call me. Alex felt his heart sink for his friend. He had met Emma several times, and she had seemed genuinely fond of Tam. They had appeared to be a happy couple. I am so sorry, Tam, Alex said, sitting on his bed to face his friend. What did the message say? That she thinks we want different things and that long-distance relationships are too hard, Tam said, looking up with tears in his eyes. She is transferring to a university closer to her home planet, and she does not want to try to make things work. Alex glanced at Kira, who was watching the scene with intense curiosity. Her violet eyes moved between Tam and Alex as if she was observing a fascinating experiment. Did you have any idea this was coming? Alex asked Tam. No, Tam said, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. I mean, we had talked about the distance being difficult, but I thought we were working through it. I was planning to visit her next month. I had already bought the transport tickets. Alex spent the next 2 hours listening to Tam talk through his feelings. His friend went through waves of sadness, anger, confusion, and hurt. Alex offered tissues, brought water and snacks, and mostly just listened as Tam processed what had happened. Sometimes Tam wanted to analyze what had gone wrong in the relationship. Other times he just needed to express his pain and disappointment. Alex provided whatever kind of support seemed most helpful in each moment, drawing on his own experiences with relationships and breakups. Throughout the conversation, Kira remained at her desk, occasionally making notes on her tablet. Alex could see her observing every detail of the interaction, from Tam's emotional expressions to Alex's responses. I just do not understand how someone can go from saying they love you to ending everything with a text message, Tam said, as the evening wore on. How do feelings change that quickly? Maybe her feelings did not change quickly, Alex suggested. Maybe she had been thinking about this for a while but did not know how to bring it up. Breaking up is hard and some people avoid difficult conversations. But that makes it worse, Tam said. If she was having doubts, we could have talked about them. Maybe we could have found a solution. Not all relationship problems have solutions, Alex said gently. Sometimes people grow in different directions, or they realize they want different things from life. It hurts, but it does not mean either person did anything wrong. As Tam gradually calmed down, Alex helped him think through practical next steps. They canceled the transport tickets and got a refund. They talked about how Tam would handle seeing mutual friends who knew Emma. They discussed whether Tam wanted to respond to Emma's message or give himself time to process first. By the time Tam left their room, he was still sad but seemed more stable. He thanked Alex repeatedly for listening and being supportive. I do not know what I would have done without you tonight, Tam said as he prepared to leave.
Having a friend who cares really makes a difference. After Tam left, Alex felt emotionally exhausted.
Supporting a friend through a difficult time was important, but it was also draining. He had homework to finish, but he found it hard to concentrate after spending so much emotional energy on Tam's problems. Kira had been unusually quiet during Tam's visit, but now she turned to face Alex with an expression of complete bewilderment. I do not understand what just occurred, Kira said. Your friend experienced a termination of his romantic partnership, which should have minimal impact on your own life. Yet you spent over 2 hours attending to his emotional distress. Alex rubbed his tired eyes. Tam is my friend. When he is hurting, I want to help him feel better. But his emotional state does not affect your survival or success, Kira pointed out. You sacrificed valuable study time to address a problem that was not your responsibility to solve. It is not about responsibility, Alex explained. It is about caring. Tam would do the same for me if I was going through a difficult time. How can you be certain of that? Kira asked. You have no guarantee that he would reciprocate your assistance. Alex thought about all the times Tam had been there for him over the past year. When Alex had been stressed about exams, Tam had helped him study. When Alex had been homesick, Tam had distracted him with funny stories and activities. When Alex had been worried about his relationship with Sarah, Tam had listened and offered advice. I know Tam would help me because he has helped me before, Alex said. That is how friendship works. We support each other through good times and bad times. Kira made notes on her tablet. This appears to be a system of mutual emotional dependency. Each individual provides psychological support to others with the expectation of receiving similar support when needed. I suppose you could describe it that way, Alex said. But it is not just about getting something in return. I helped Tam tonight because I care about him and I wanted him to feel better. Even if he could never help me with anything, I would still want to be there for him. That makes no logical sense, Kira said. Why would you expend resources on someone who could not provide reciprocal benefits? Alex was too tired to explain the concept of unconditional friendship to someone who had never experienced it. I think we see the world very differently, Kira. Indeed, Kira agreed. Your species appears to have evolved a complex system of emotional interdependence that creates both benefits and vulnerabilities. I am documenting these patterns for my research. Over the next few days, Alex noticed that Kira was paying even closer attention to his social interactions. She seemed particularly interested in observing how humans supported each other during difficult times. When Alex met Tam for lunch, Kira asked detailed questions about their conversation afterward. When Alex participated in a study group, Kira wanted to know why students helped each other understand difficult concepts instead of competing for better grades. When Alex called his family, Kira analyzed the emotional content of their discussions. I am beginning to understand your hypothesis about human emotional bonds, Kira said one evening as they worked on their respective assignments. You claim that these relationships provide psychological benefits that outweigh their costs. They are not costs and benefits, Alex said. They are just part of being human. We are social creatures. We need connection with others to be happy and healthy. But this creates vulnerability, Kira pointed out. Your emotional state depends on the actions and well-being of others. When your friend experienced relationship termination, it affected your mood and productivity. When your girlfriend expressed distress, it caused you anxiety. These dependencies limit your autonomy. Alex looked up from his homework. Yes, caring about others sometimes makes life more complicated, but it also makes life more meaningful. I would rather experience both joy and sadness than feel nothing at all. Feeling nothing would be more efficient, Kira said. You could focus entirely on your own goals without distraction. But what would be the point? Alex asked. What good are achievements if you have no one to share them with? What is the value of success if you are completely alone? Kira paused in her note-taking. Success has inherent value regardless of social context. Does it? Alex challenged. If you accomplished something amazing but had no one who cared about your achievement, would it feel as meaningful to you? For the first time since Alex had known her, Kira seemed uncertain about her answer. She stared at her tablet for a long moment before responding. I have never considered that question, she admitted. Zelani achievements are evaluated by objective standards, not emotional responses. But how do you feel when you accomplish something difficult? Alex asked. Do you experience any sense of satisfaction or pride? I experience confirmation that my efforts were successful, Kira said carefully. This provides motivation to continue pursuing optimal outcomes. Alex sensed that there was more to Kira's emotional experience than she was willing to admit, but he did not push the topic. Instead, he returned to his homework and let Kira continue her observations. A few days later, their routine was disrupted by a campus-wide emergency. A severe solar storm had damaged the university's communication systems, cutting off contact with homeworlds throughout the galaxy. The administration announced that repairs would take several days, and only emergency communications would be possible during that time. Alex felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach when he heard the announcement. He had been planning to call Sarah that evening, and he was worried about how she was handling her academic struggles. Not being able to talk to her or his family made him feel isolated and concerned. As Alex walked across campus after the announcement, he could see that other human students were having similar reactions. Many looked worried or upset about being cut off from their loved ones. Some were gathering in small groups to talk about their concerns. Alex noticed that students from other species seemed much less affected by the communication blackout. The aquatic collective students continued their normal routines without apparent distress. The silicon-based crystalline students showed no change in their behavior patterns. Even the usually emotional feathered ones seemed relatively calm about the situation. But the human students were clearly struggling with the sudden isolation from their families and friends on distant worlds. That evening, Alex found himself in the common room of his dormitory, where a group of human students had gathered to support each other through the communication crisis. Without any formal organization, they had created an impromptu support group. I was supposed to call my parents tonight, said Maria, a first-year student from Earth. They worry when they do not hear from me regularly. My little brother has been having trouble at school, added David, a third-year student. I promised I would help him with his science project this week. Alex listened as student after student shared their concerns about family members they could not contact. Some worried about elderly relatives who depended on regular check-ins. Others were concerned about friends going through difficult times who needed emotional support. Maybe we can help each other, Alex suggested. We are all dealing with the same situation. We can talk through our worries and provide support until the communications are restored. The group embraced Alex's suggestion enthusiastically. They spent the evening sharing stories about their families, talking through their concerns, and offering comfort to those who seemed most distressed. Alex found that helping others with their worries actually made him feel better about his own situation. When he listened to Maria talk about missing her parents, it reminded him of how much his own family meant to him. When he helped David brainstorm ways to support his brother from a distance, it gave him ideas for how to help Sarah when communications were restored. Kira observed this gathering from a distance, taking notes on her tablet as usual. Alex could see her watching the human students with intense curiosity, as if she was witnessing a completely foreign form of behavior. The next day brought more challenges. A first-year human student, named Marcus, had what appeared to be a severe anxiety attack when he learned that his home planet was experiencing natural disasters and he could not contact his family to confirm their safety. The university's medical center was staffed primarily by alien doctors who could treat Marcus's physical symptoms but did not understand the emotional component of his distress. They gave him medication to calm his racing heart and steady his breathing. But Marcus remained deeply upset about his family's well-being. Alex and several other human students took turns staying with Marcus, talking to him about his fears and providing emotional support. They shared stories about their own families, helped Marcus think through realistic scenarios for his family's safety, and simply provided companionship during his distress. Kira observed these interactions with growing fascination. She seemed particularly interested in how the presence of other humans actually appeared to improve Marcus's physical recovery, even though they provided no medical treatment. The human students are affecting his physiological responses, Kira noted to Alex. His heart rate and breathing patterns improve when others are present, even though they provide no medical intervention. Emotional support affects physical health, Alex explained. When people feel cared for and supported, their bodies often respond positively. But how is this possible? Kira asked. They are not providing any tangible medical treatment. Sometimes the most important medicine is knowing that someone cares about you, Alex said. On the third day of the communication blackout, something unexpected happened. Kira received a priority message through the emergency communication system. Alex could see that she was distressed as she read the message, though her emotional expressions were more subtle than human reactions. Is everything all right? Alex asked, noticing that Kira's usually perfect posture had slumped slightly. Kira stared at her tablet for a long moment before responding. I have received notification from the Zalani Selection Committee. My genetic line has been deemed suboptimal due to my research focus on inferior species. My breeding rights and social status are under review. Alex felt a surge of sympathy for his roommate. Even though Kira had often been condescending toward humans, he could see that this news was devastating to her. What does that mean exactly? Alex asked gently. If the committee's decision is finalized, I will lose my right to reproduce and my social ranking will be significantly reduced, Kira explained. Other Zalani will avoid association with me to protect their own status. I will become essentially invisible in Zalani society. Alex could see that Kira was struggling with emotions she had probably never experienced before. Her silver skin seemed duller than usual and her violet eyes had lost their typical brightness. I'm sorry, Kira, Alex said sincerely. That sounds like a very difficult situation. Kira looked at him with surprise. Why are you expressing sympathy? This development does not affect you in any way. Because I care about you, Alex said simply. You are my roommate and I have gotten to know you over the past year. I do not want you to be hurt or rejected by your own people. But association with me could damage your reputation among other species, Kira pointed out. It would be logical for you to distance yourself from me now that I have become a liability. Alex shook his head. That is not how friendship works, Kira. Friends support each other during difficult times, not just when it is convenient or beneficial. Kira stared at Alex as if he had said something incomprehensible. You consider me a friend? Of course I do, Alex said. We have lived together for a year. We have shared meals and conversations and experiences. You have helped me understand Zelani culture, and I have tried to help you understand human behavior. That is what friends do. For the first time since Alex had known her, Kira's composed expression cracked. Her violet eyes filled with what looked like tears, though Alex was not sure if Zelani could actually cry. I do not understand, Kira said, her voice unsteady. I have treated you as a research subject. I have analyzed your behavior and criticized your emotional responses. I have called your species inferior and primitive. Why would you consider me a friend? Alex thought about how to answer. Despite Kira's often condescending attitude, he had come to appreciate her intelligence, her curiosity, and her genuine desire to understand human behavior. He had seen glimpses of vulnerability beneath her scientific detachment, and he had grown fond of her in spite of their differences. Because friendship is not about being perfect, Alex said. It is about caring for someone despite their flaws. You have been honest about your opinions even when they were hurtful. But I can see that you are trying to understand humans, not just judge us. That effort matters to me. Kira was quiet for a long time, processing Alex's words. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than usual. I have never experienced what you call friendship, she admitted. Zelani society does not encourage emotional attachments. We are taught that such bonds create weakness and inefficiency. But how do you feel right now? Alex asked. Knowing that someone cares about what happens to you? Kira considered the question carefully. I feel less alone, she said slowly. The committee's decision seemed catastrophic when I faced it in isolation. But knowing that you are concerned about my well-being makes the situation feel more manageable. That is what friendship provides, Alex explained. It does not solve all your problems, but it means you do not have to face them alone. Over the next few hours, Alex helped Kira think through her options for responding to the selection committee's decision. They discussed whether she could appeal the ruling, what evidence she could present about the value of her research, and how she might frame her work in terms that the committee would find acceptable. Alex also helped Kira process the emotions she was experiencing for what seemed to be the first time in her life. She was feeling fear about her future, anger at the committee's narrow-mindedness, and sadness about the possibility of being rejected by her own people. These emotional states are very disruptive, Kira observed. I understand why Zelani society discourages them. Emotions can be difficult, Alex agreed, but they also provide important information about what matters to you. Your fear tells you that your future is important to you. Your anger suggests that you believe